The time has come as we start to near the end of this series. Money Game Part 3. I am actually so nervous for this one because I just feel like there's going to be so much to have to unpack, and after seeing Part 1 and Part 2 and knowing that Part 3 is a 9-minute 20-second video, I just feel like there's going to be so many things that I'm possibly going to miss, and I feel like I would need to watch this video on slow motion to catch everything. But we're going to see what happens. As always, no expectations. We're going to waste no time. Let's get into it. Jeez. Who is that? Who's actually playing that in the video? Oh, it's Ren, isn't it?
Tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. 1 year old and his first words were mine, gimme. 2 years old he was walking, 3 years old walking quickly. 4 years old he was running round the pavements of his city. 5 years old and his daddy told him, listen here son, you gotta learn to be a man. A man, he works for what he wants. 6 years old and he's reading, writing, top of the bunch. And when he's 7, his progression made him student number 1. 8 years old and he's praised for unusual grades. 9, his parents paid for private school to nurture the flame. 10, 11, 12, 13, he ascends and ascends. His daddy tells him, son, money is the means to all ends. 14, solving complex mathematical equations. At 15, IQ 150, still elevating. 16, he develops complex software code that detects weaknesses in cybersecurity protocols. 17, and he sells his vision, keeping the share. Not yet an adult, but he's practically a millionaire. 18, and his daddy tells him, now you're a man. This world don't give a damn about you, so take all that you can. 19, he turns a profit, stocks and shares, invest in product. 20, double down deposits. 21, his income rockets. 22, he learns the truth is just an obstacle to wealth. If you manipulate the data, then the lie will sell itself. 23, a life of luxury, crystal and cocaine. 24, he makes the Forbes list, they're applauding his name. 25, and his daddy tells him, listen here son, while you're sitting in that palace, that don't mean that you won. 26, a business shift, he switches business to arms. He's 27, dealing nuclear and shells in Iran. 28, inside the Senate, money bought him a seat. He's 29, a role of counsel in the president's suite. Now he's 30, his daddy says you're losing the race. You're just a servant to the king, not even in second place. 31, a big maneuver for his daddy's approval, moving imports over borders from the exports out of Cuba. 32, moving grams, growing kilos to tons. He's 33, filling warehouses with powder and guns. 34, turf war with nobody to stop it. Blind eye from the po-po inside of his pocket.
Oh, a wiretap. Wait,
35.
what?
He gets a call. I'm sorry, son, but it's your father. Had a heart attack. I'm sorry, he's gone. 36, getting pissed up, abusing his product. 37, eyes glazed, disposition demonic. 38, with a prostitute, a moment of passion, heating up a silver spoon and then chasing the dragon. 39, getting reckless and hungry for power. Daddy's words are still driving him to kill and devour. Makes a move against the cartel, but the strategy's flawed. They retaliate and leave him in a hospital ward. A bullet buried in his vertebra and one in his leg. The doctor sighs and says, I don't think you'll be walking again. Fuck.
Ooh. Showing how the greed is getting to him and actually screwing him up. The greed is becoming his enemy now. All these things that made him grow are the things that are actually taking him out now.
Let me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. He was 40 and he cursed the words, mine, mine, gimme. 41, he wasn't walking. 42, not walking quickly. 43, never running round the pavements of his city. 44, inside a palace with a mountain of gold. But those riches turn to rubble and perspective evolves. Weighing heavy on his conscience is the value of gold. Lamborghini for a life, trading money for souls. Jimmy followed the code inside the land of the free. Put your hand inside the cookie jar, take more than you need. And his example is exaggerated versions of me. And it's a version of him, and it's a version of she, and it's a version of you. There's no escaping the blame. The way we live is parasitic. Fuck the money and fame. Call the music. This isn't entertainment. This is real life. The way we live is lunacy, community, it declines. Hyperpolarized, always fighting, then we divide. Truth is less important than the money that we designed. Money's an invention. Politics from our invention. They all come from people's ideas. Did I mention? Border's an invention. Law and order fuel the tension. It leads to people killing each other. My solution? Everything is subject to change. We could build utopias if individuals were taught to use their brains. But if we teach kids in schools to always be sheep and put themselves before the herd if there's more money for me, then there's no future I see where the humans survive. We're parasites inside a petri dish with cannibal minds. Mold will grow upon the surface and consume till it dies. And our fate could be the same without this story to the wise. "45. Jimmy comes home out of the rain, soaking wet upon a wheelchair, drinking again. He is everything he wants, he is fortune and fame. He's a fortunate fool with an unfortunate fate. With a 45 caliber aimed at his brain. 45 a fitting number cause his age is the same. Here's the words of his father. is such a damn shame. Then he presses on the trigger of a money game.
Whoo! Wow. Wow. So, all right. So many things to bring up, and I'm gonna try to keep it short and simple. Honestly, absolutely, as always, just as you suspect, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. A couple things I just want to shed some light on real quick is one, the fact that these songs like this one don't have like some bass to it or anything like that. Like it's not like some like beat like you would expect like a rap song or anything like that. And yet he's able to flow so nicely. You know what I'm saying? Like it's honestly poetry. It's almost like a spoken word poetry. And he's able to get his points across so well. And the other thing is his storytelling. It's literally for the mind to be able to build up these types of stories the way he does, and to put it to music, to put it to a melody, you know what I'm saying? To put it to a rhyme and be able to tell such an elaborate story is crazy, because yes, you have people who write books, who write stories, who write, these crazy things, but to then take it and turn it into a song, it's a whole nother level. He's taking multiple completely different, talents and merging them together into this one beautiful piece of art that he has created. And honestly, in my opinion, it is his own thing. You know what I mean? There isn't other people doing this the way he is doing it, and that is so sick. Now, as far as the song itself goes, wow. I mean, the story is right on the money. No pun intended, but the story is it's right there. I mean, it's so true. And it just shows how this all stems from childhood practically. And you're fed to believe these things. You're fed to believe that money is power. That you can get anything you want by manipulating others and manipulating the system and trying to do workarounds and make things fit the way you need them to, which honestly just shows the selfishness that goes into the greed. And then to tie it all into how that same greed and everything is what's making people sick. It can make you sick. It can kill you, because you just end up at a point where nothing is even enough, and you've gone so far to try to keep going for more and more and more that it ends up just not working in your favor, and it actually turns against you. And you're doing all these things to try to get what you want when it's not actually what you need. And it just brings you down a bad road. It puts you in a bad situation, and it makes you sick, and you end up the way this ended. Another thing, I love that the last line of this, he ties back into, I believe it was the first one, with the whole finger on the trigger of a money game. Only he flipped it now to show that it's done now. Like he took something from the first series, flipped it, tied it into from the first part of the series, flipped it, tied it into the last part of the series here, but he changed it and put a stamp on it, a period on it now. That basically shows that this is the end of it. Now, I know Money Ties also ties into this, so that will be the fourth and final part of this series I'm doing. So when you look at the playlist on my channel, there will be 4 videos, Money Game Part, Money Game Part 2, Money Game Part 3, and Money Ties. So Money Ties will be the next one I'm doing, final one for the series. Now, this next thing I'm about to say might be an unpopular opinion, right? But hear me out. For me personally, I almost feel like this shouldn't have been called Money Game Part 3, though it can still be part of the trilogy and the 3-part series. Despite him tying that last line in with the first song, I almost felt like Money Game Part 1, Money Game Part 2 tied together because the choruses. He kept that same chorus, same topic, of course. It was more explaining, the behind the scenes of just the whole concept of greed and power within, the economy, the world, all these different things. So I can see how those tie together, right? In a story form, or in a series form, I should say. Now, Money Game Part 3 is a specific story, about a specific character and everything like that. I mean, the way I'm going to look at it is that the character from Part 1 that you see in the chair, no, because for me that doesn't even make sense, that the character in the chair from Part 1 is Jimmy. So I'm not sure, but I just felt like for Money Game Part 3, yes, it's keeping the same concept and continuing the whole thing about greed, but it's its own story. In a sense, as the first two weren't a necessarily specific story. Part 3 is almost, to me, its own type of beast. And I understand it ties in because of the concepts and everything, but I don't know, for it to be Part 3. I would expect, for instance, like, I haven't listened to it yet, but Money Ties, it's a different name. It's still, like people are saying, it ties in a way to the Money Game series, or trilogy, but it's got a different title. It's called Money Ties. So I almost feel like, in a way, it kind of should have been Money Game Part 2, and then Money Game, the Jimmy story or something. Like, I don't know. I'm just, this is just could be me, but that's just how I personally feel about it. Out of the three so far, I will say that this actually might be my least favorite. It's genius. It's very elaborate, the way he told this story, the way everything was brought together and tied together. It's genius, absolutely. I think people are expecting me to be completely blown away with that last line, but it was almost to be expected, because of, he was holding the gun for so long and things like that I kind of expected it to go that way. So I wasn't taken aback when he actually said the last line with the gun to his head and everything. But it is sick. It is absolutely sick how he ends it that way, because it really speaks volumes and shows, the whole process of how this, pans out in the end, in a situation as such. Other than that, another thing I thought was pretty cool and I wanted to point out is how, when he's telling the story about Jimmy, he's almost acting, playing a role of Jimmy at the same time. Ends up, when he talks about Jimmy getting paralyzed or whatever, he goes into the wheelchair, right? But then he stops, and when he gets up out of the wheelchair, he starts to speak and say almost like a speech in a way. And that's coming from Ren. That's, the way I see it, that's coming from a different perspective, not the story about Jimmy necessarily, just the story of greed and all of that. So he steps away from the wheelchair, separates himself from the story for a minute, and then when he's done with what he has to say, goes back to the wheelchair and finishes the story about Jimmy from a different perspective. Which I think is sick. It just shows another way of how his brain works, and his creativity behind his art, and I think that's so dope. But yeah, as far as all, I mean, the song's sick. As far as all three go, this is definitely ranking underneath the first two. First two for me right now are tied, like hands down. 2 was absolutely sick. 1 just is kind of holds something special to me because it was the first one. It blew me away. The ending blew me away, with the whole gasoline thing, lighting. It kept me in this suspense. It was something unexpected I wasn't ready for. I don't know, the darkness behind the whole video and everything. It felt sadistic in a way. Almost felt like I was watching like a Saw movie or something. Like it was really cool. So that one holds a little something special to me out of all three of these so far. Two was number two. It was so sick the way it was put together, the way he tied it back into the first one with the same chorus and all that. And then three, is awesome, absolutely awesome. Brilliant. The music quality and production, you can tell they put a lot of effort, a lot of time, probably a lot of money into it. I think somebody said that this was the first time he had a real budget for a music video. I think somebody said that. And it shows. But yeah, that's just how I see it all. This was sick. I'm actually looking really forward to Money Ties right now because I want to see how it ties into these three. So let's stick around, wait for that. You guys let me know how you feel. What do you think about what I thought about all this? Hopefully I'm not hated because of my views on, how I felt it should be almost, called something different and not part three, even though, yes, I understand it's part three, but maybe I also missed something in why it would be part three and, more of how it ties into the first two, other than just being about the same type of concept, just told from a different type of perspective and using a specific storyline. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't seen the other ones yet, and this was the first reaction of mine you saw, especially of the money games, then please go back, watch the other two. It'll kind of make this one make a little more sense and where I'm coming from when you see my reactions to the other ones. And other than that, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace!